Collins.
Here.
Hinderman here. Pohl.
Here.
Schrader.
Here.
White here. All present.
Thank you. Aaron, proof of public meeting notice?
Yep, it was posted yesterday at both schools and sent to the city hall, the city and the village of Dickville and our friends in the media.
Ready? Item 3 is public recognition. Is there anyone that would like to speak?
We do have Jeff Skem here, who is speaking on behalf of Cuba City Youth Basketball. Jeff had talked to me a while ago. I had sent him kind of what we were proposing and what we'll be discussing tonight. I invited him to come if he wanted to speak a little bit on CCYB's behalf, and he'll probably stay a little bit for the discussion. But Jeff, if you don't want to stay for the vote, I can let you know how it goes afterwards. But I know how everybody loves being in Holiday board meetings, but you're welcome to stay anyway. So the floor is yours, Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to say thank you for creating an opportunity with what Aaron put out on some guidance to our group. Hopefully this will turn into a positive vote. I think from our standpoint, from the youth basketball, we think it's important to get kids together and participate in the gym and working on skill development, working on teamwork, and doing some of those activities. So that's the main reason, as I wanted to, from an outside group, say that we look forward to using the school facilities. We want to do everything that we can to assist the school in as far as cleanliness and keeping the facilities in good shape and good order, so that there's no issues with the school system or with the kids using the gym during the school day as well. So we've had plenty of parents reach out and thank us for continuing with the CCYB season or attempting to continue with the CCYB season. Our current plan is to, depending on tonight's vote, would be to start practice whatever is decided with the school system or with you guys as far as the board is concerned with allowing us to use facilities, and distance our group, follow all the guidelines that Aaron's put out, and then we're going to hold off on games though, and kind of restrict some of the travel, just because we don't want cohorts going out into other areas, Madison, the Wisconsin Dells, and playing in tournaments where then they could come back to the school system and create problems either. So our goal is to slow play this as well, and really just get kids in the gym, get them active, get them working on skills through the end of the year. And then we'll reevaluate in January. Currently, we've told our coaches that January 1, we'll see how things are going, and then maybe open up tournaments to our teams January, February, March. But that's all dependent on state and local guidelines as far as what's happening with COVID at that time. So just wanted to lay out what our plans are, what some of our thoughts are, and let you guys know that, you know, we're, as an organization, we're taking it seriously as well and want to do everything we can to allow kids to participate. So are there any questions of our group about the usage of whatever usage or what any of our plans are?
Are there any questions for us?
Here.
Yes.
Okay, if you're gonna use it, does it have to be sanitized after you're done?
That is one of the things that Aaron has put in there, is that we would sanitize. Yep.
It's in the plan, I believe, Chuck,
Okay, all right, thank you.
because it was the same for wrestling and volleyball, I believe, as well.
Okay.
Or whoever used it.
And we can work out those details of what that process looks like for our group. When we split using.
Other questions? Ready? Thank you, Jeff.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jim.
Item 4, consideration of the consent agenda. Are there any items A through D that you would like pulled for further discussion? Hearing none, would somebody move, please?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Andrews.
Yes.
Bowden.
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Hinderman. Yes. Pohl.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
White. Yes. Motion carried.
Item 5, administrative report. Kelly, would you do middle school, high school, please?
All right, so some of the things going on here at the middle school, high school, we had financial aid night for our seniors on September 21st. Ms. Adler did a really nice job of organizing that to be an online setting for our parents and our seniors. On October 14th, we had 30 sophomores and juniors take the PSAT. And again, Ms. Adler did a really nice job of organizing that assessment for our students while also staying safe and spreading everybody out really well. So We had 30 students take that, and that's a lot more students than we've had in the past take that assessment. So that was good to see. On October 15th, we had staff and students were able to get the flu shot here at school. So last Thursday, and we're really glad we were able to get that in, as recommendations are out to get that sooner than later. So we had that opportunity for families last week. The Cuba City Downtown Task Force has been a great experience for our students. Many times Mr. Jones has reached out to ask us to partner with them in some way. And the latest partnership that we have is, and many of you maybe have noticed this, that they're starting to paint a mural on the ground by the caboose. And some of our high school students are participating in that. Our upper level art students are helping with that, which is a really great experience for them and something that they will always be able to come back and say, hey, I helped paint that. So we're excited about that and how that's going. CESA 3 is offering many different trainings for educators during this time. And some of them that we are taking advantage of is the Focus on Assessment with Dr. Doug Reeves and Leading for Learning. And these offerings are happening after school hours. So like from 3:30 to 4:30. So that's a great opportunity just to hear from some experts and brainstorm with and network with other educators in the area. On Friday for collaboration time, this time is so valuable to us, and we're using it to continue our curriculum work, differentiation work, as well as allowing time for staff to continue to plan and think about students that might be quarantined for a short period of time, as well as students that are in the classroom, and have time to a little more time to plan for those types of things. The first round of our virtual parent-teacher conferences were Monday night, and they went really, really well. I actually had a middle school staff meeting this morning, and the staff was excited about how the meetings went. The participation rate was really high. Some of them did not have any breaks the whole night. And they said it was very engaging. Like the parents were really involved, asking great questions. And they kind of said they think the participation might even be better than when we do it face-to-face. So maybe we should consider this in the future. That might be something that we make an adjustment to. So that's how the middle school staff felt. So that's exciting. And it's fun to think about then Friday morning to have that opportunity. We'll be meeting with some more parents in that virtual setting. So that's wonderful. Girls golf has completed their season, and Delaney Ryan competed at sectionals for our team. Cross country had their conference meet last week, and we had regionals yesterday, and Drew Robson is going on for us. So we're excited for him and want to wish him luck. Middle school cross country had completed their season. And actually, we were able to host 3 middle school cross-country meets, and we have not done that before. And Mr. Budden and Kim Matthews did such a good job of organizing that for our participants, and they were really good events. It was fun to go watch the kids run. So we were glad we were able to do that here on our school grounds. Mr. Corey Kaiser and his fiancee, Tia Meyer, donated $20 gift cards to the 608 to every student and staff member in our middle school and high school this year. This was so generous of them and really made everybody feel good. So it was a really nice gesture of them to do that, to donate to every student and every staff member here. And he wanted to do that because he graduated from here, and it was just a great gesture. So we want to thank him for that donation to everyone. Mr. Pettigrew has been selected by the Wisconsin Basketball Coaches Association as a recipient of the 2019-2020 National Federation of State High Schools Coaches Association Boys Basketball Coach of the Year for Wisconsin. Congratulations to him on this achievement. That's a really big achievement, and that's outstanding. I want to thank Mr. Lutz and the elementary staff. During their unfortunate closure, we were able to use some of the staff members in this building, and it's been greatly appreciated in different areas, whether it's because we maybe had some staff members that were out here or there, we were able to use them as subs or in different areas of the building. But the flexibility and just the amazing teamwork is so appreciated. So thank you, Mr. Lutz, and to all of his staff. And then I want to give a big shout out to our office staff and to Mr. Olson. So every day they meet at 8:30 to talk about COVID and to talk about the cases and what's going on. And then they keep Brad and I in the loop. And it's just so helpful that Pam, Julie, Jesse, and Jessica can really field questions that come in so that we're able to support the students and the staff in the buildings during the day. And I don't know if there's a big enough thank you to say to those individuals to do that so that we can keep functioning and meeting the needs of everybody that's in the building. So thank you to them. Definitely a team effort every single day. So
Thank you, Ellie.
yes, thank you.
And yes, if we could grant those 4 ladies their honorary nursing degree or something.
Right? Exactly.
Unwanted, but
They-
appreciate the help.
They definitely have field experience this year.
Any questions of Ellie? All righty, Brad, take it away.
So at the elementary, we have 2 teacher groups that are focused on curriculum purchasing, one that will take place this year, the other next year. So we have half the staff being led by Stacy Volbeck and focused on social studies, which is up this year. The other half of the staff is stuck with me, and we're working on English language arts and just working really hard to find social studies resources that are adjusted more to our inquiry-based standards. The standards in the state have changed a little bit in social studies, and ELA standards just came out last year. So we're going to look for something that can provide the opportunity for the most student growth when it comes to trying to get kids to proficiency towards those standards. The second thing, Stacy, along with Kristen Golly from CISA 3 and myself, we've been working on developing a standards-based grading system and report card that hopefully in the near future we could share with the school board. And our goal is to shift away from ABC and number grades to more standards-based and proficiency. So we're identifying the actual areas where students are showing growth or stuck. Sometimes getting a grade of a B or a A-, might make a parent happy, but it doesn't really tell the full story of what's going on. So we'd like to make a shift in that direction in the near future. Parent-teacher conferences for elementary actually ended today. Our staff was able to meet with, feedback I have from staff is over 80% of families, and that's without everybody reporting, but most of them well over 80%. Our second conference was changed today, obviously, due to our temporary quarantine, and that shift from Friday to Wednesday was actually recommended by Mr. Olson. So I just want to give a special thanks for allowing us to take advantage of a day where we weren't going to be face-to-face with students and convert that into a conference day so that when we have kids here on Friday, we can have face-to-face instruction, which we all know is better than the virtual setting. I want to compliment our entire staff for their seamless transition to virtual learning. We did not find out until Friday, late afternoon, early evening, that we were going to have to do what we had to do. And just the fact that over a weekend, we were able to get everything together, use Monday morning to gather supplies, have them organized in our school for a parent pickup that I think we had all but 8 students pick up their stuff on the first day. So really, really impressive that the staff was able to get that taken care of and then prepare and implement virtual learning the way they have over the last 8 days. And again, thanks to parents and families, their quick response and flexibility given that situation. I know everybody wishes that we knew 2 weeks ahead of time when we were going to be quarantined, but the reality of it is sometimes we don't know more than 2 hours. So it's just a huge thank you to everybody involved. I feel like I'm just saying thank you and over again, but thank you to the kitchen staff for their flexibility as well. Sometimes they go without mention that their ability to shift from providing meals face-to-face to everyone to having those packaged up and ready for pickup for the families that are in need of that service. So a huge shout out to them. Some things that we have going on prior to our little virtual learning stint. I just want to acknowledge the great job our staff has been doing, taking advantage of the weather and utilizing the outdoors. We've used it a lot for physical education, art, and music, but classroom teachers are also finding creative ways to use the outdoors and allow for social distancing, giving students more and more opportunity to get some movement and get their masks off, and get a break from the masks. So just a huge shout out to their creativity and the ability to utilize the outdoors, because we know in the very near future, it's gonna be a lot more challenging. We have all of our fall assessments, almost all of our fall assessments completed. We had a few that were delayed over the last 8 days, but staff have begun to look at that data and make assessments and identify students that may need additional supports. So I'd like to give a huge shout out to Amy Spielvogel and Amanda Gall for the work that they've been doing to make sure that services will be provided to our students who are most at risk. Ellie mentioned we had a lot of support staff and specialists who were available to help out with lunch deliveries to like Kiel or Dickeyville, but also to come up, help with supervision or sub in the high school. And just the fact that we have so many employees that are willing to work together, I think is huge. And then the last thing is I'd like to recognize Jennifer Shep. She did a project. I don't know how many of you saw the images that were shared, and there was a little video put together. There's a book by John Gordon called One Word for Kids, and it's about identifying the one word that means the most to you, and that you want to have the biggest impact on what you're doing for that year. And all of our students had that story shared with them and then chose their word and decorated it. And we have those posted up around the school. Just the number of different, unique, but all generally optimistic and positive words from staff and students. It was a great activity. And given the challenging times that we're in, I thought it was definitely worth recognition.
Thank you, Brad. Is there any questions? Alrighty. Deb, would you give the special ed report?
I will. The special ed department has completed all of the initial evaluations that were submitted during the closure or happened, and we weren't able to test during the closure. And they all occurred, and students were all able to start the school year with a program in place if they needed that, a special program in place. So that was a lot of hard work on the special ed department involved with that. The special ed staff district-wide have been continuing to work on determining whether students have additional needs based on this closure, which I had talked about in July. And they're also working on just refining this virtual delivery for students with special needs. There's always, it seems, a unique twist in every situation. So they're working on different ways to get to deliver that instruction and therapies and things to students while they're virtual. And also our next step then is to look at what face-to-face would look like if there was a closure, because we've offered that if possible, we'll allow students precedence to have face-to-face instruction if they have an IEP or an English language need. So lots to think about. Brad Van Epps, who works for CESA 3, has again come to our school district this year to provide co-teaching. The teachers involved include Chris Sander and Sarah Williams at the middle school. They're co-teaching math. Krista Knapp and Ellie Jones are in 5th grade, and Miranda Doyle and Courtney Zaboff in 4th grade. This has been really challenging because last year when he came, he just came and observed and he met with people. And now we had to set this up virtually. And thank you to Tina, who taught me how to use YouTube Live. I had no clue. It was simple. She gave me all the steps. And Mr. Van Epps said it was just as good as being there. The quality of the YouTube connection and just being able to see the whole classroom. He said he didn't feel he missed anything just because it was virtual. The other challenges have been closures and quarantines and things like that and rescheduling, and we've overcome all of those struggles. He's still working with our staff, and this is just definitely a best practice for students with IEPs because it puts them in the general ed classroom where they're receiving support from both a regular ed teacher and a special ed teacher. So their needs are being addressed in that general ed setting, which is where we always want them if possible. And a thanks to Laura Wolberding, who wrote and received the COVID Rapid Response Grant. And I will just stop there because I know she's going to do a report on that. But she wrote the grant, she organized the group, and I'm very appreciative of that because it addresses communication for students with IEPs and students and families with English language needs. Another thank you tonight, boy, I feel like it's Thanksgiving. Pam Trennell and Jesse Donar, who not only are our COVID warriors, we submit information to the state through our student information system, which is PowerSchool, and also through our special ed software, which is SEEDS. And those things need to communicate together and send information to the state, which creates information and databases that are required mandates for the state. And a lot of our report cards and things are based on that data, so we want it right. And it seems every year it takes a little less time, but after that third Friday count, there are usually lots of validation errors. And between the three of us and little information, it seems like at times from DPI, try to pick apart where that error is coming from. And between now and the beginning of December, we need to correct all of those errors. So it's a pretty big job, and sometimes it's tedious, and sometimes we don't realize that the error isn't in our data, but in the system, and they tell us that a little bit late. So thank you to them for their patience and their understanding and knowledge beyond what I know about WISE. And also, Heather Dressler and I have been working together on the special ed budget. We're also working on, or have worked on, some claims for what they call transfer of service and for high-cost students and programs. So between she and I, we get the forms filled out and submit them, and it always has the potential to increase revenue for us or reimbursement. So that's what I've been doing this month.
Thank you, Deb. Is there any questions? Ready? Laura, tell us what the rapid response.
Sure. And just a clarification on what it is. Through my work with NEA, I've been involved with NEA for, my whole career. And they came out with some COVID grants, and one of them was a rapid response grant. And one of the frustrations we as classroom teachers had, as well as the special ed staff, is that the spring really showed us the discrepancies in equity that we have for the special ed students that we have. And we didn't have a plan in place to do so virtually with them. So when I saw it, of course I saw that because we also had similar problems with the Spanish speaking families in town. So when I saw that, I thought that would be awesome. But as I read through the grant, I knew if I did it just for the English language learners, we wouldn't get it because it was such a small population. So I knew that some of my students are in both programs. So then I talked with Deb and with Melissa and Ellie, and we decided that we would do it for special ed. So it was a rapid response to, let me see what it's called. I don't remember. To make policy, special education virtual policies proposal. So we did that so that we could get money right away in the summer, and we planned over the summer with the high school and middle school special ed teachers. We met together to create a plan in the case that we went virtual this time or this year as well, that we would have a plan for communication with parents, a plan for communication with teachers, and everything would be a little bit more streamlined and everybody would be on the same page. So that's what we did. We met in July, several times in August. We got a grant for they were up to $5,000 and we had like $4,100. We've only spent about half of it because, once school started, it was crazy. And then, there's some parts we still have to work on, but so far we were able to get a good plan done before the administrative team met to talk about the back to school plan. So that was really good. The special ed teachers from the high school and the middle school were phenomenal, and the resources that they found and brought together so that we'd have some. So we did a plan for communication. So communicating with the families and communicating with the teachers and the special ed staff, a plan for support for students with accommodations, We created a progress monitoring process so we could see where people are and make sure that kids are held on task. And then a clear plan for expectations of all the staff involved. So this is what the special ed staff will do. This is what the classroom teacher does. And then our last one is the one we still haven't done yet, is to create a plan of support for the caregivers at home. So how can they help their child do well with virtual? And we just kind of ran out of time for that. Another portion is having Tina work with some of the support staff. So that was another portion of this. And we haven't done that yet because of just closures and quarantines and things like that. So that she can help train them on some of the technologies that we use so that they can they can better help the students that way. So we've done most of it. We have until January to finish it all. And that's about it. No problem.
Questions? Aaron?
All right, I'll talk a little bit about some of the COVID happenings. We continue to get better with contact tracing. Just so you guys know, about every time we have to go through a contact tracing investigation is what Grant County calls it. Unfortunately, the next step is we were like, okay, we got to tell teachers they got to add this now, or we got to add this. What we're trying to do is not involve the teachers in the contact tracing on the weekends. During the weekday, if it's here, it's not hard for us to walk down and they can tell us that. But we really don't want to be calling them at sometimes 7 o'clock on a Sunday. So when you couple that with trying to respect HIPAA laws and not sharing student information, we're really reliant on the teachers planning. So we're constantly asking them, okay, now let's do this, and now let's do this. We're trying to get better. Today we had a mistake that led to, we had to invite 2 kids back in, and we had to send 3 more home. But our ultimate goal is the more we do this, then the less that stuff happens. And staff has been great. Every time we ask them, hey, make sure you do this, then it's taken care of. So eventually we'll stop adding to that plate. The next thing we're talking about that's COVID related administratively is really the upcoming possible super spreading events. And so I'm talking about Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. And what are we going to do to proactively combat those possible events where large groups of people gather together and there's somebody who doesn't know they're positive, and bring that back to school. So that's something that we're looking into options. We're going this week's staff survey will kind of lay out some of those things and get some staff perspective before I kind of share with you guys what some of those options are as well. So that's kind of what's been going on and what we're doing with COVID.
Thank you. Any questions of Aaron? Alrighty, moving on to item 6, discussion on facility usage for organizations outside of the school. Aaron?
Yep. So one problem with having so many trophy cases in the hallways is that incorrect assumption would be, well, Cuba City is all just about sports. Today we're going to be talking about some sports things, but as you guys all know, remember July was all back to school plan. Every day there was a meeting for back to school plan. We didn't talk about extracurriculars. August, we took all that information and created the back to school plan. We knew that eventually we're going to get to the point where either we delay it like we did with the fall sports because there wasn't a secondary option for us. So we took that option as we thought that was safer. But now sports are upon us. So I want to make sure that everybody remembers this summer was all about back to school, but we do have to allocate some time towards our activities as well. So that's kind of what we're doing today. So this first one is about facility usage for organizations outside of school. So in general, we've got 3 organizations. We've got Cuba City Youth Wrestling, Cuba City Youth Volleyball, which is called Power, and then Cuba City Youth Basketball. Those are the 3 primarily that use our facilities. And so in conjunction with Carrie and Ryan, who we work with a lot in these things, we kind of came up with these discussion items. And it's basically every one of these bullets is open to discussion. And I don't want to read this top to bottom, but I do want to go through some of those things. So first of all, we have kind of a COVID disclaimer that I have a copy for everybody. If you want to just take one and pass it down. I meant to put these under your agenda. One of those passed down. This was developed by our attorney, just basically saying, hey, here are the risks of being involved in activities during the COVID season. So that's going to be an expectation, or that's what we recommend. It's just to give parents some time to sit down and think about that and go through, okay, here are the risk and reward, and they'll have to take a look at their individual family risk. And it's really just kind of a reflective activity, but we'd like to have people go through and do that. We're really going to have to ask coaches to help with contact tracing when need be. So they've got to keep attendance and strict attendance. And we have to have access to their phone numbers because sometimes they might get a call at Sunday at 8:30 to make sure that somebody who was exposed is not at school on Monday morning. So they're going to help us. They're going to have to help us with that. To answer Chuck's question, we have to have designated ending times, which allow for the custodians to spray. Those sprayers will not impact the wax on the floors or the wax on the gym floor. We checked into that already. But we want to make sure that they have time to disinfect those areas. Limited spectators. So for practice use, basically the coaches and players can be there. That's it. We're trying to limit population. As far as spectators for events, at the elementary school where space is limited, we're recommending home gets two spectators, away people get one. It's really hard with youth sports to say away people can't bring a guest because they're driven there. They're not provided transportation by the school. So this is pretty common with the other schools in our area that we're talking about, 2 for home and 1 for away.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Aaron, could you confirm that again? Because in the copy that was attached to the action agenda, I thought it was 4 and 2.
Yep. So that's at the elementary school where there's
Okay.
seating is limited. If they do play up here, then we double that. Then it's 4 and 2. Yep. We just have more seating capacity up here at the high school, but a lot of those games are down there where space is very limited. Gonna make sure that their organizations go through coaching or COVID best practices. And they're gonna have to present those to us and how they're going to instruct their coaches to coach with COVID procedures in mind. We'll help them if they need help with that at all. They'll follow all state laws, executive orders, district policies regarding face coverings. So whether that's state or local. Moving down to then some things that are pretty standard with all the other ones. Kids will bring their own water bottle, hand sanitizer, so they're not using the same equipment. We've got the practices must be done at the elementary school. They have to be out of there by 8:30. The high school have to be done by 9:30. That does allow our custodians time to disinfect the gym. We do have the adult age community recreation groups too. So we've got a group of folks that like to play basketball at the elementary school. They usually go on Wednesdays and Sundays. And then there's also women's volleyball that is on Sundays. And so we put some things in for them as well. We'll basically ask those organizations to come up with multiple people who can host, and we'll teach them what we need them to do to disinfect. They've got to come up with their own shared, so basically they have to bring their own basketballs and volleyballs. Obviously they can use our court and our goals and our nets and things. But we'll basically teach them how to do that, and then they're in charge of making sure that everybody's following face mask orders. So those are the groups that generally use our gym the most for activities. So at this time, is there any bullet or bulleted item that you want to talk about or discuss?
Have you had a chance to look at it, or do you want a few minutes?
So the adult leagues will have to sign this, and there'll be somebody that's a head person whenever the gym is open.
Yep, and generally there is one for both of them already, but we're gonna ask for multiple because sometimes the person who normally does it isn't available. So that's why we'll ask for at least 2.
The question is this for every time that somebody comes in the gym, this form's gonna be completed?
I would say these are for people who are with a organization, for students. I was not thinking that our adult groups would sign this, but if you want to put that in there, we certainly can.
Well, I guess my question is I wasn't sure what the intent is, because upon reading this, I'm saying this is only good for today. Because tomorrow, I might have symptoms. I might have been exposed, and that's some of the questions that are in here.
Yep.
I know you and
I did talk to Eileen about that. She said, I believe later on it says that I will monitor these types of things on a daily basis, but the language does say, as of right now, this date, that's the starting point. And then later it says every day I will monitor that, and our coaches will be monitoring those things as well.
I just, just because I know that we talk, this really won't stand up in a court of law.
Not in a court of law. It's
So-
really just a reflective thing for parents to,
So-
I think most parents probably know that there are inherent risks in doing that, but
So it's more of information.
yep.
Okay. So that would be my understanding, Dan, this is more, I guess, information to the parent or the guardian, because it's not gonna be accurate after the day they complete it per se, and it would be up to the parent to monitor their own child, before they would show up for any, event here.
Yep.
Okay. Does anybody have questions about the plan itself? Hearing none,
All right, move on to the next one.
okay?
Okay, the next one, discussion of participation in winter sports at the middle school and high school level. I did link the WIA document. How many pages is that, Carrie? Seemed like 70. Of kind of what they want to do to make sure that they're providing a safe environment for children to compete in. We won't go through that whole document. But, when we decided to make the decision to postpone fall and use the alternate fall time in the spring, the sentiment from the board was, we don't want to cancel things, but if we can delay it and we think that might be safer, let's do that. And that's ultimately what it came down to. And again, it was one of those 51-49 for a lot of us. So winter sports do not have an alternate season. And you've seen some schools in Dane County that have, some have delayed the start date. I believe Sun Prairie delayed it to a later day. Some conferences have said, we're not going to have a conference season, but the schools can still have a full season. Those are some different things. Really, Dane County is the only area that I've seen that is doing that right now. In our area of the state, in Grant County and in the SWAL conference and then the SWIC conference of those people that I work with on a regular basis, Riverdale was thinking about delaying or canceling their winter sports. And as of yesterday, talking with their superintendent, they must have had a board meeting last week. They are not considering that anymore. So basically everyone kind of in our area is moving forward. So we will have an upcoming SWAL meeting to talk about how winter sports is going to look. And so in order to prepare for that, we all know we're going to talk about it in the SWAL, and then we're going to bring it back to the board in November to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. So right now, really, this conversation is to see what are the top priorities for you guys. So when I go into that meeting, or Carrie and Ellie and I'll go into that meeting, we have a good idea of what's the most important things for you guys. So we can say, we think that our board would support that, or that's not a high priority for our board. So I've given you guys kind of an outline that has some of the things that we've commonly talked about with among the superintendents and athletic directors and things. So I'll read through those, so those of you who don't have it know what we're talking about. And I just put them in alphabetical order, starting with the first letter. So what I'm going to be asking the board to do is come up with their top 4 priorities. Your top pick gets 10 points. Your next pick gets 7. Your third gets 4. Your fourth pick gets 1. And we're going to go around and everybody can share theirs. I'll tally that. It just gives me a good idea when I go to the SWAL meeting of what you're more likely to support. So these 10 areas, which got some information from Ellie and Brad and Carrie on coming up with this list after we've been in a lot of those meetings. One is address transportation practices and procedures for athletes and coaches. 2, allow concession stands to serve food. 3, avoid morning practices for our athletes and dancers. 4, continue to be able to offer face-to-face instruction. 5, food for athletes after away events. 6, limit non-conference events based on geography or school size. 7, limit the number of students on a team or in a group to avoid mass quarantines. 8, offer as many activities to our students as we can safely do. 9, offer opportunities for community members to view the games. And 10, offer opportunities for family members to view the games. So are there any 10 that you guys, before we kind of do some scoring here, are there any 10 that you guys either want to talk about or you want to ask for clarification just so you know that kind of what I'm thinking with that statement? Are there any questions?
So with most of these, like if we say like address transportation practices and procedures for athletes and coaches, that would just be, so you go to the SWAL conference meeting and say, can we all get on the same page with this?
We'll try to do that. And also,
It may
like,
not happen, but.
right, but that gives me guidance of that's really important to you guys. So I want to make sure that I address that when I come back to you in November also.
Okay.
The
Yep.
transportation end of it, are we gonna have to run 2 buses? They're gonna try, because you can't run one. Like basketball, you got, JV and varsity, so.
Those are all things that we'll talk about. Yep.
Okay.
I know in years past, and being a varsity coach myself, I always wanted as many kids to ride the bus as you can because it's good team bonding and things. This year, if parents want to take them to games, we'll likely encourage that and make that more available. And it's just a safer way. Some coaches, I would feel real uncomfortable with some coaches getting on the bus. Some coaches may not like that I tell them that because they're just used to being on the bus. So, yeah, those are all things to consider, Chuck. And do we have enough buses or drivers to take 2 buses is another question to consider. Just so you guys know on contact tracing, what that comes down to, although if someone on a sports team is positive, the whole team automatically is under quarantine. But on a bus, just so you guys know, what we have to count is 2 seats forward, 2 seats back, and then over 1 and 2 seats up and 2 back. So that's the whole quarantine section for contact tracing.
You had said something, this is about winter sports, right, is what we're talking about?
This is about school-sponsored sports, so middle school and high school, yep.
But one of the questions is continue to offer face-to-face instruction. I mean, that's kind of the number one goal no matter what, right?
That would be my top one. And so,
Everybody's top.
yep, so when we're going through and coming up with that, if that is the overall number one, whenever we're writing our back to sports plan for the winter, that's gotta be our number one all the time.
Other questions regarding the choices? Hearing none, are you gonna tally?
Yep, I've got Gary's and Dan sent me theirs already on email. You want to change yours?
You did not number them on the action
Oh,
agenda the
okay.
same way that you did here. So
Okay.
that is not correct.
So we'll change that one. All right, so what gets 10 points?
For me,
Yes,
number 4.
number 4, okay?
And then number 8 is my second choice, 10 is my third, and 1 is my fourth. And that's going off your list.
Yep, got it. All right, thank you, Dan.
Mine, just so everybody can hear it, my 10-point or number 1 was continue to offer face-to-face. Number 2 was to offer as many activities for our students as we safely can do. And the third was the limit non-conference events based on geography or school size. And the last one was offer opportunities for family members to view games.
Thank you.
Anybody want to go next? Lisa? Sarah, ready?
Sure, yep, I can go next.
Sarah.
My number
Sarah,
one.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
You're related to her somewhere, aren't you?
My number one is continue to be able to offer face-to-face. Number two, offer as many activities for students as possible. 3, offer opportunities for family members. And 4, offer opportunities for community members.
Got it. Thank you, Sarah. Brad?
Number 1 would be continue to offer face-to-face. Number 2 would be the transportation thing. Number 3 would be limit non-conference events. And then number 4 would be limit the number of students on a team.
Thank you.
Okay, Megan?
I had continue to be able to offer face-to-face instruction, offer as many activities for our students as we can safely do. Then to limit the number of students on a team or in a group to avoid mass quarantines. And then finally, the transportation issue.
Thank you, Megan.
My number one was continue to offer face-to-face. Then to offer as many activities for our students as possible. And then address transportation practices and procedures. And then last is to offer opportunities for family members to view.
Great. Chuck?
Number 1 is continue your face-to-face instruction.
Okay.
2 is offer as many activities as possible. 3 is limit number of students on the team. And number 4 would be opportunities for family members to view the games.
Great. All right, I think 1 and 2 are fairly set. Number 1 is continue to offer face-to-face instruction. The next one is offer as many activities as for our students as we can safely do. And we will continue to do, as we look towards the winter season, there are also other things that our SWAL competes with, whether that be our math teams, our forensics. How is there a way that instead of doing a musical, can you do a school movie? So when we're talking about these activities, we're talking about sports also, but we want to keep in mind, there's a lot of co-curriculars. There's a lot of things our students want to do. And from what the board just told me, when we hear offer as many activities for our students, we want everybody to know that's not just sports. You just said activities. So we want to figure out how are we going to do forensics? How are we going to do FFA? How are we going to do theater? And how are we going to do some different things musically? We might have to think out of the box and it might look different. But the top 2 here, and then there's, 3rd and 4th are going to be pretty close and we'll tally those up, but it's a good barometer for me to be able to come back in November and say, when we do things, this is what it is. So this is for sports, this is for POMs, this is for drama, this is for music, this is for public speaking. This is for a lot of things. So I appreciate you taking the time to give that some thought. And I think this will help us come up with a better plan to move forward with all activities. So thank you.
If there's nothing else, then we'll move on. All right, new business, approve the salary and wage benefits for certified staff. We met personnel committee before this meeting to discuss the next 4 things on the agenda, including this. So Aaron, go ahead.
Yep. So we're proposing a CPI raise in salary of 1.81% at base pay for certified support staff. Are those next 2? That was that was shared with the budget committee, the budget and finance committee, and then tonight with the personnel committee and budget and personnel committee both approved certified support and admin.
Are there questions, board, of that recommendation? All right. I will move to approve the 1.8% salary and wage increase at base for certified staff as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
You're so fast. Andrews,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Collins,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Paul,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item B is approve the salary and wage changes for support staff.
Same thing, raising CPI.
So it's the same 1.81% again. And as Aaron had said earlier, the budget and finance had approved this. So are there any questions? Would somebody move?
I'll move to approve the 1.81% salary and wage increase at base for support staff as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Andrews,
Yes?
Bowden,
Yes.
Collins,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Paul,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item C is the same thing for administrative staff.
1.81%. In previous years, the district has always given admin a 2% increase, even if CPI was below 2%. And our administrative staff is on the same page with that we don't feel comfortable with that. So we are recommending a 1.81% instead of a 2%.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, Gary, I got a couple. Okay, we have a list of which ones get what, or is everybody included?
Yep. So you've got that in your packet. Yep, it's got each, so admin staff is not just those people over there sitting in the comfy chairs.
Right.
That includes Ben and Brian and Janet and Tim.
Other questions? Would somebody move?
I'll move to approve the 1.8 salary and wage changes for administrative staff as presented.
Is there a second then?
White, or Andrews,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Collins,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Paul,
No.
Schrader,
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item D, approve the hiring of 4 elementary school interns for the second semester. Aaron?
Yep. So this semester, we used interns to divide our 2-section classrooms at the grade level, grades first, second, third, and fourth, to having 3 sections. We did that through working with UW-Platteville with partnerships for interns. That has allowed pretty much, not 100% of our classrooms, but the vast majority of our classrooms to allow for the 6 feet social distancing, which would reduce the number of kids who are sent home through contact tracing. And we didn't know if this was going to be a 1-semester thing or a 2-semester thing, but I don't think any of us feel like this is going to be over by January 24th. And we think that is a good use of funds. It's about $21,000. That really helps us have face-to-face instruction at the elementary school. Although we are in a shutdown right now, we try to avoid the elementary school shutdown very much because they can't be home alone. Middle school and high school can be home alone. So we think this is an investment in keeping face-to-face learning as much as we can.
Questions?
Last, initially, you were after 5 and could only get 4 applicants.
Yep.
The 4 work out, that's what is a good number again, or should we be looking for 5 this second semester?
I asked Brad that same thing, and he said it's the other person we moved in that position is working really well, and the recommendation was that we stick with 4.
So you created a 5th sort of fill-in?
We use one of our intervention teachers, a first grade teacher. She's teaching first grade, because the interns at second, third, fourth, and fifth. The class that the intervention teacher is in has a significant number of kids who would normally need interventions anyway. So having her in there has allowed us to program appropriately for those students. She's doing a great job. I mean, it's, I would hate to cause disruption for that group of kids to bring another intern in. It's going to be tough enough in the other 4 classes to shift from one teacher to another at the semester. If we can limit that with our youngest learners, I think it's better to keep her in that position.
Is the intern primarily the only one in front of those kids?
The majority of the time, yes.
If there are no other questions, would somebody move?
Well, just to be clear, because you had shared this in the update with the board, but I'm not sure if everyone knows it, like, we would have to seek applicants and get new interns. It can't be the same group again next
Yes,
semester.
it can't be the same group, which, even though a couple volunteered, they want to do that, and that's nice of them, but no, we can't do that. And Unity Platteville is holding off. They've had a lot of other schools reach out to them now and say, hey, we'd like to do that second semester. Because we were the first people that did this with them, they said that, until we get that set and we pick our 4, then they're gonna let the other schools kind of have that. So we were very appreciative that Unity Platteville was doing that to allow us to get the cream of the crop there.
Again, are there any other questions? Would somebody move, please?
I would move to approve the hiring of 4 elementary school interns for the second semester as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Andrews,
Yes?
Bowden,
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Poll,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item E, approve the list of students participating in the early college credit program.
Yep, this is something we do every October for the next semester. And so we've got that list of students who signed up and they're approved and ready to go, but this won't start till January 24th or so if they choose to take that in there. But our policy does say we have to approve it for the October board meeting.
Are there any questions regarding that program? Hearing none, would somebody move, please?
I'll move to approve the list of students participating in the early college credit program for the second semester as presented.
Thank you, Sarah. Is there any other second?
I'll second. Andrews,
Yes?
Bowden,
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Poll.
Yes.
Schrader,
Abstain.
White.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Approve the facility usage for outside school organizations.
Yep, so this is what we talked about in our conversation. Again, just for clarification, we'll have all of those groups use the COVID liability waiver, but not the adult groups. I don't think there was any other change that needed to be made from that document that came out of our discussion.
Are there any questions, board? If not, would somebody move?
I'll make a motion to approve the facility usage for outside of school organizations as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Andrews,
Yes?
Bowden,
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Poll.
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item G is approve the change in the school district handbook for extracurricular duty changes due to the pandemic.
Yep, so this was brought to me by actually one of our board meetings. Last year, we had paid all the coaches, whether they had started their season or not, 100%. And the board had said, hey, let's just be prepared in case this happens again, so we're not having to do it like in the heat of the moment. Let's be prepared. So I did take this to a personnel committee meeting in May. My apologies. I probably should have brought this in June or July, so sorry we didn't do that. That was an oversight on my part. But basically it says, if the activity, so these are all co-curricular activities. It's not just sports. We've got 3 pages of co-curricular activities. If the activity is able to complete between 75 and 100% of their scheduled activity, that would mean contests, games, and events from start to end, that person would still receive 100% of their scheduled payment. If their activity is able to compete or complete between 50 and 74, then they would receive 75% of the payment. If they complete between 25 and 49%, and this is basically days, they will receive 50% of their payment. And if a season is just canceled, so 0 all the way up to 24, they would receive 25% of their scheduled payment. Now keep in mind, when any person is counting on that money at those co-curricular dollars for anything, and it's not offered, so even if they get 25% of that, they can still apply for employment compensation or unemployment compensation for the remainder of that, and we'll pay out about 60% of that. So just keep that in mind in going through with this. If they do that, we still pay that out for whatever amount is missing. We would pay them 60% of that. But the other thing is, let's say there's a wrestling team and they're on a 2-week quarantine. Okay, that coach can say, okay, we're gonna take these 2 weeks off and not do anything because we'll still be 75 to 100% of that. But that coach might say, you know what? I want to meet with every player every 2 days. We're gonna watch film on his last 3 matches. To me, that's a day of work. They're coaching at that time. They're still working with our athletes, making our athletes better. So there are ways that even if you do have a short team quarantine, this is really in case a season is canceled beyond the coach's control, is what that is. So any questions on that?
So just to clarify, it's not just the games or the events. So something like a school play, which may have 6 weeks of practice for 2 performances, that 5 weeks of practice to head up to that time would count.
Exactly. Yep. Good question. Anybody else?
Okay, if there's no other questions, is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve in the CCSD handbook for extracurricular duty changes due to pandemic as presented.
I would second.
I'm gonna give it to Sarah. Sorry, Dan.
Well, that's fine.
Andrews,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Pohl,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
motion carried.
H is approve the middle school winter sports schedule. Ryan, any comments you want to make?
Oh, yeah, I made a mistake. There should be if you have that document, there should be a game the 24th. We are host, will be scheduled to host on the 24th. I'll just add that this plan came together in one athletic director meeting, within our conference. We are not in the fall conference, just to clarify, we're in the, technically the Final 8 is what it's called, made up of the schools you see listed there. We do have 2 teams that have canceled boys basketball. And as of today, I reached out to everyone to get their plans and everyone else's plans on moving forward with boys basketball.
So this really just allows Ryan to get started on some scheduling. So this is the board's action to say, yep, we are planning right now to move forward with middle school, boys basketball, girls basketball, wrestling, volleyball, and track. Because those are the 5 sports that we do offer in middle school. So at our last board meeting, somebody asked, are we going to have an action item to approve sports? And I thought that was a good idea. So that's why this is on there.
Any questions? Would somebody move?
I'll move to approve the Cuba City Middle School winter sports schedule as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Andrews,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Pohl,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item I is approve the high school winter sports schedule. Carrie,
Yes.
any
Are you
comments?
voting?
Yes. Yes, you're
I
here.
imagine you don't have anything in your packet because we're still fine tuning some changes. When the WIA altered the season, we have a few schools where there's been some switches and we had some non-conference games that aren't going to happen right now. So we're close. Basketball, boys and girls. The girls is complete. There might be a change that has to happen in Coach Ruth. And wrestling just got thrown to the fires this week because the WIA changed their winter sport guidelines to only rules and only can happen 6 to 7 days apart.
Ooh.
So that then throws in the basketball schedule potentially some changes if we have to have hosts. So it's just a circle, basically. I feel like I'm in Groundhog's Day, but we are ready to go with boys basketball, girls basketball, and wrestling, and anything else that we want to throw in there.
Yeah, so all of you guys have basically just the start and end of the season. That's pretty much all we're approving right now is that we're ready to move forward with those.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing that, Carrie. I'm sure tomorrow it'll change probably, so, of course. Any questions regarding the winter sports schedule? Comments? Would somebody move to approve, I guess what we know is that there'll be a schedule, I guess.
I would move to approve the CCHS winter sports schedules as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Andrews,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Collins,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Poole,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
motion carried.
Item 8 is personnel. Approve the hiring of a new 8th grade girls basketball coach, Danielle McQuaid.
Yep, we're pretty lucky that Danielle applied for this. Danielle has been a very valued member of the coaching staff for the girls before as a JV coach. And this year she'll be doing 8th grade for the girls. So that was Ryan's recommendation. And both Ms. Olson and I second that as well.
If there's no questions, would somebody move?
I'll move to approve the hiring of Mrs. Danielle McQuaid as the new 8th grade girls basketball coach as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Andrews,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Collins,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Poole,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
motion carried.
Committee reports, budget and finance. I know you met on October 7th, but anybody, Chuck, you want to give an overview?
And just, we're going over the budget, so we're gonna end up, hopefully, it won't be in the red.
We'll be presenting one that does have a deficit, but work the rest of the year to try to make sure that's closer to zero than the negative numbers.
Did we ever get the information on how much they're going to pay for students?
Yep, it was 179.
Is that up or down?
Heather, do you remember what we got last year? It was up $4. I think last year we got 175.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any questions on that budget and finance? I know that as a personnel committee, we were informed about the state aid and that stuff, but I don't know about the rest of you. Can you just quickly tell them what you told us?
Sure. So we got $179 more per student per resident, which is helpful. However, we're in a declining enrollment, which almost every school in Wisconsin is right now. State average is about 3% in a 5-year, over 5 years. We're a little short of that. We're like 2.8%. So when there are fewer kids, you get fewer dollars. So we get more per child, but on average, it's not enrollment, right, Pam? It's resident enrollment, people that live in our district. Our district there are fewer kids. And right now, it's really helpful. Our open enrollment numbers are really good. We have 60 kids open enrolling out and over 90 kids, I believe it's 94, 95. Open enrolling in is 96. That's even better. Open enrolling in, so that gap is very helpful. But this year with, putting in the new high school boiler after the elementary boiler last year, again, those are two purchases that we should have to make every 50 years. Chuck will tell me more than 50 probably. But we did those two projects. We updated the HVAC controls of the high school for $25,000 with our interns, with all those different things. We'll be presenting a budget that is, and we're going over budget, which would mean we'd have to use our fund balance. Again, when we budget, we try to make sure everything that we know that we're going to purchase is in there. And so but try to do that for your house for 12 months. That's sometimes things break and you didn't think it was going to break and you have to pay for it anyway. But we will work the rest of the year to try to make sure that is closer to take less money out of the fund balance.
Thank you for giving that overview. Are there any questions? Alrighty, building and grounds didn't meet. Is there anything? Okay. Curriculum and instruction. Looks like you're going to meet in June. There's nothing else.
Nothing there. Nope.
Personnel, we met tonight and we discussed those things regarding the wage and salary. Policy.
I did get an update about some COVID things from Neola. There's about 4 different policies. I'm going to meet with our Neola rep to go through it first, but I'm targeting either maybe November 4th or November 11th policy committee meeting, but it's very short as there were only 3 or 4 items in there.
Technology and transportation. Dan, is there anything you want to say?
We had met early October to discuss some busing issues due to the pandemic. Nothing's resolved on that.
So what does the maybe mean after the? that means that was the date that we were going to meet if we heard back from a group, and we did, so we did meet on that day. Okay. Foundation didn't meet. CISA 3, again, Jamie Nutter is leading a great group, and I know I heard from some of you tonight about how, you know, some of the folks there are really helping us throughout the school district, and Jamie's trying to drive the engine to make this a true co-op, to the point where if you were a member of a co-op, that you'd actually get a dividend or money back for using services. So he's doing a great job. So I really enjoy being on the Board of Control. Again, I don't know of anything else. Thank you, everybody, for keeping our school open, and the elementary starts again on Friday. Tomorrow, all right. Tomorrow's your Friday then. You get 2 Fridays this week, Monday and a Friday. If there's nothing else, would somebody move to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.